love yourself and all of that, because okay, so self-love, you mean like appreciate and love yourself, not like self-love, like, you know what I mean, diddling yourself. Primarily it's because we live in an emotionalist time. We live emotion feels before reals. Okay. So the idea, and I experienced this firsthand, by the way, if you guys saw the Crazy Feminist Exposed video on Fresh and Fit, which was a 4-hour long after hours show. And we reached the point of diminishing returns on that show long before we should have killed it right then and there. But that whole show it was interesting because we had some women. We had a range of women from 18 to 33 or 35, somewhere along those. And the women who were 33 and over were much more based than the women who were like, we had a girl who was 18. We had this girl who's a French Canadian girl who was sitting to my left on the show. And she was a hot girl, blue eyes, very thin, looked like she took care of herself, but she was just there. No one's at home. I was looking, I have the video. I could show you some clips of it, but I think I'm not going to. If you want to go look at it, you can. It was so long and I could scrub through it and show you some points, but really all it is was a good example of cognitive dissonance on the part of women, depending on where they are in life. So you had this 18-year-old girl who was blathering on about wanting to be independent and how she was bisexual and how she could never trust any man. And if she wants a man, she wants him to be her equal. And it was all the standard kind of pablum that you get from this. Oh, I want an equal partner, and men need to be equal with me, and I'm independent. And I at one point in the conversation, I'm like, why do you want that? Why do you want an equal partner? Like, you don't need men, but you say you want a man. Well, what kind of man do you want? Oh, I want him to be this. My ideal guy is this. I'm like, well, first of all, that ideal guy will want nothing to do with you. And I'm not saying that to be cruel or, to crush your poor little idealistic soul, but it's true. And I broke it down in no uncertain terms. And I just went from point A to point B, just deductive logic, and presented how it was going to work. And then when you do that, and I did the same thing with the French Canadian girl as well. And so did Meyer. Meyer was trying to make a point. And I was just like, at one point during the conversation, I'm like, we have reached the point of diminishing returns. And she wasn't even drunk. Like, that chick was like stone cold sober. She had hardly anything to drink. And she would just yammer. She was 28 years old. She moved to this country. She constantly she loved to talk about herself. And it turns out that she was a sugar baby, essentially, for some doctor who had brought her to Miami from Canada. And she was like going on about, men and women this, and we're not animals, and blah. When I talk about how women have no problem with cognitive dissonance, she's a textbook example of this. And so you could say the sky is blue and she thinks the sky is green, and she will tell you why she thinks that, but the sky is still blue, right? And whenever something works in favor of a woman, especially when it comes to hypergamy in particular, but whenever women confront cognitive dissonance, it's like they have no problem with cognitive dissonance. They have no problem holding two opposing concepts in their heads and going with whichever one is the most expedient at that time. Now, I have said, and I think I quoted in this book, as a matter of fact, women have no problem with cognitive dissonance, especially if one of those two competing concepts leads to optimizing hypergamy. So if I get what I want, I'll go with choice A. If I get with what I want, I'll go with choice B. Whichever one facilitates my life and my plan and whatever, I'll be happy to go the virtuous route. I'll be happy to go the practical route. I'll be happy to go and even if those two concepts conflict with one another, it doesn't matter rationally and reasonably that they do. That's where the dissonance comes from, the cognitive dissonance, right? Holding two different opposing points of view. Well, those points have to be, they're not based on feelings. They're concepts based on like logically, rationally, deductively coming to these conclusions, right? Well, the dissonance that's the feeling. That's where the emotion comes into all of that. So when somebody says, well, where to go? Here it is. When somebody says this, why are they so big on self-love? Because love is the highest order feeling that women have. So if something leads to greater love, or like Jada Pinkett Smith was saying, it's all about love. It's all about, follow your heart, girl. It never leads you astray. You'll see this in Disney Pixar movies. You'll see this. It's a constant romantic ideal that I talk about in book 4. But whatever leads to that love, like love, just like love is love. You'll see that on like placards and stuff like that. You'll see, especially when, when they were pushing for same-sex marriage. Love is love. Well, love is the justification for anything else. That only comes in a society that is primarily based on emotion. Love justifies anything whatsoever. If it gets to love, then we're okay. That's why in book 4, if you've read book 4, you'll understand there's a whole chapter in there that's called Love is God. Not God is love. Love is God. Now, that was a reversal, of course, of the Bible, right? God is love. I think it's Corinthians or something like that, right? So, but I reversed that because we hold up love as a God. And by that, I don't mean like an actual God. I mean like actually like higher than God. Like the concept of love is what makes things worthwhile. It's if it was all for love, then it was okay. Oh, I killed this person. Was it for love? Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess you're all right. You're off the hook. Right. Oh, I committed these acts of atrocity, but it was for love, for the true love. Right? Love is God. Love is the feeling, the emotion of love is the highest order, like principle in that. Really to the woke mob, but like to a society that's founded on the romantic ideal. Love becomes God, not God. God is love. It's love is God.